money, your taxes, your truck, and your road to success in the trucking industry. This is Trucking Business and Beyond, the show that puts the money where it belongs, back in your pocket.
Good morning, you beautiful bunch of Fockers, and welcome to my world. I'm your host, Kevin Rutherford. It is Thursday, May 30th. We are here live. It is a free-for-all. It is going to go fast. We've only got an hour. Then I'll be followed by Mike and Kevin Beckett with Rolling Toe. So line up those calls and questions, and we will get to them here pretty quickly. If you're watching on the live stream, you can dial 855-950-3835. If you're using the app, just hit that Call Now button. We should have some more news on the app coming, hopefully tomorrow. Maybe we can get something going next week. We've got to get the new app out to you so you can listen to the show when we switch over to our broadcast app, which hopefully is going to happen very soon. All right, I've got some odds and ends here, kind of some weird stuff while we wait for some calls to come in. So jump in and join us, 855-950-3835. Where do I want to start here? So let's start with parking. So we've talked about this in the past, and like most issues, we seem to get groups in trucking that it just seems like their approach is always, if there is a problem, the government has to fix it. And then we start fighting, and my take is not that there is not a parking problem, but the government is not going to fix it. I don't want the government to fix it. Even if you gave me the greatest plan in the world for the government to fix it, we have to realize we can't keep asking a broke government to fix anything. This is how we get $34 trillion in debt, and we're adding another $1 trillion every 100 days. When do we finally say enough? You can't keep spending money that you don't have. This would be like going to all the broke owner-operators and asking them to pay our fuel bill. They have no money. The government has no money. And it has no money because we, as individuals and groups, I'm not including myself in this because I fight against this constantly, we can't keep asking the government to solve our problems. That's not what they're there for. They were never meant to be there to solve our everyday problems or all of our business problems. We need to get back to a more constitutional government. The things the government was supposed to do. And you know what? The founding fathers were pretty damn intelligent. They designed a government that if it sticks to what it is supposed to do, I believe it's the best structure in the world for a government. Why is it such a mess? Because we as individuals can't even blame this on the politicians. We keep asking the government to solve all of our problems. It's gotten to the point where we don't even attempt to solve our own anymore. And parking is, we have talked about this for over a decade. It comes up once in a while. We talk about it. I'll get a bunch of calls from the tribe saying, you know, yes, there are places where it's hard to find a spot in a truck stop or a rest area, but there's lots of places to park. We've heard this for years. I deal with this when I'm on the road as well, and it's just as difficult for me. And you'll say, well, you're not on a schedule. You don't have a load to deliver. No, when I travel, I'm on a schedule. I have events to get to. I have a show to do every day. I have to make sure I'm parked somewhere so I have signals. I know what it's like trying to find parking for a 70-plus foot vehicle. Now, I have an extra challenge. I have committed not to take a parking spot, a truck parking spot, during the evenings. I will take truck parking spots all day long in truck stops to do my show. But when I park for the night, I will not take a truck spot. Now, I will in a rest area. Rest areas are wide open as far as I'm concerned. And honestly, I've made the argument about truck stops. When I'm out on the road, I am really working in and for the trucking industry. If I wanted to take a spot, I would, but I don't. But I have that exact same challenge. Yeah, I can usually park up front without anybody saying anything, but sometimes I just can't fit when I'm dragging my trailer around. Um, but here's what's really crazy about this. The reason I got sucked into this time was because there is a group. I haven't really talked about them a lot, but I'm very familiar with this company. I know the owner. I spent a lot of time talking to him, and I think it's an amazing company and a service. It's called truckparkingclub.com, and they have both paid and free parking, and they are a private company, and they find truck parking spots. And then they create it's an app, and you belong, and the company is really run well. They I was just reading a text message. They have grown like crazy, and now they will go to place. Well, here's an example. We're probably I have to clear a couple more things. And part of it was the argument that made me decide to do this. We have the ability at our warehouse to clear one parking space for trucks overnight. And we have trucks come in all the time and pick up their orders, and we love that. So I am really thinking about, like I said, I have a couple issues, but if we can clear a spot, we will become a truck parking club member with just one spot. But it's one spot in a very quiet place right by the river. In a beautiful place with lots of trails if you want to go walks, very close or quiet at night. If you're picking up an order, you'd be right there at the warehouse. You'd pick up the order when we come in the morning. So I think I'm going to do that. But this is how I got sucked into this. I saw this post, and I've had run-ins with this woman in the past, long time ago, and I pretty much avoided her or just ignored her since then. But she was really ripping on this truck parking club. She is an advocate for more truck parking, but she's ripping on a company that was formed to create more truck parking. Now, I don't know if you remember the group. I don't even know if this group is still around. She's still around, but I'm going to look this up. So there's a lot of history here. If you're familiar with the group Women in Trucking, founded by Ellen Voya. Ellen Voya is a good friend of mine. Ellen has built an incredible organization over there. She started it by herself, one woman. She now testifies in front of Congress. The group does as well. It's grown like crazy. She works with a lot of other industry groups. She's done a lot of good for her members, which is exactly what she should do. The group was called Women in Trucking. Then it wasn't long after that, I saw this group called the Real Women in Trucking. And that whole word just bothers me. You're not a real truck driver. You're not a real owner-operator. What is this obsession with trying to make somebody real? Well, if I'm not real, what am I, fake? I mean, that it doesn't even make sense. And that was the first thing that kind of set me off. It looks like they still have a website. I haven't seen them do anything in probably a decade. But I guess realwomenintrucking.org still exists. But that whole point, it was like a slam against Ellen and her group, Women in Trucking. And like I said, that word real just kind of makes me a little crazy. So she was posting, just ripping on this company. And I thought, this makes no sense. You're an advocate for parking, and why are you attacking a company that provides parking? Well, it turns out that one of the models this company is using is they are working with certain truck stops to manage paid parking within the truck stop. Good, but that's your problem. You're stealing free parking spots. Nobody's stealing anything. These are two private businesses. If they decide to have a partnership to provide a better parking solution, then good. I've said over and over and over. How long have I been saying this right here? And this is it. And it's happening now. And I can't believe we're fighting against it. Not we as an industry, or there's industry groups. I've said if you want better parking options, make parking profitable for somebody. Make it a profit center. Be willing to pay for it. Now, again, I work primarily with owner-operators and small carriers. Drivers, I get it. You shouldn't have to take money out of your pocket to park. Your company should. So start putting pressure on carriers to provide paid parking for their company drivers. When that happens, and we're all willing to pay for it, the parking problem will go away, and we will have better options. You'll have cleaner options. You'll have safer options. You'll have options with amenities. That's what Truck Parking Club is doing. It's not just an old dirt lot somewhere. It might be, but it might also be a lot that's been put in with amenities, food, bathrooms, whatever. That will grow. If there is money to be made in parking, we will get better parking. Or you can let the government do it, and they'll open rest areas or truck parking and then close them a couple years later because they can't afford to keep them clean. And that's our tax money. We shouldn't have to pay to pick up your piss bottles. And that's what happens. So part of this is that many drivers have destroyed the opportunity to park places. Walmart used to be very truck friendly. They're still very RV friendly. Walmart's let RVs park overnight all over the country. It's a great option. We've used it many, many times. But the trucks, there's always an issue. They're running over landscaping and curbs. They leave their trash thrown around everywhere, and then they get banned from these places. Now, when you've got paid parking, all of that will go away. People will either pay to park and act like a human being, not an animal. And these lots that are getting paid will probably provide services to clean up as well. It really is a win-win, and yet we have a group advocating for parking, fighting against it. Now, here's the other thing. The last time I had a run-in with her, I barely remember it. But this time, she's unhinged, and she can't make a good argument for anything. All I did when I saw her rants about Truck Parking Club, all I did was post, why are people angry about a new option? That's it. I just asked a question. I didn't call anybody names. I didn't even give my opinion about parking or paid park. I just said, why are people angry about options? And she went off on me. The name calling started immediately. All I did was ask a question. She called me, I thought this was actually kind of funny. She called me the P.T. Barnum of trucking. And I thought, oh, maybe she likes me. I think a lot of people have a misconception about P.T. Barnum. He's famous for a statement. There's a sucker born every minute. And people, I think, believe because of that famous quote that he was a con man that took advantage of the dumb people, the suckers that are minute. P.T. Barnum was the founder of Barnum and Bailey Circus, the greatest show in the world. Now, growing up as a kid, that was a big deal. I went to the circus a lot, and it was a really awesome event. And the founder was not a con man. It's the exact opposite. He was complaining about con men. His whole business model was provide at least twice as much value as what you charge for. Does that sound familiar? I think I've said that. We always, when we put out a project, I want to make sure we're giving you at least twice as much value. But she thought she was calling me a con man, but actually it was kind of a compliment. So we got into this big, long debate all day. Then it came down to when I said, why can't you just debate me on the topic? Stop all the name calling. Then it was, well, you're not a truck driver. Oh, okay, that one again. So I may do a space on that later today. Mostly just to promote Truck Parking Club. I think I'm going to get Evan Shelley, he's the founder and owner. I think I'm going to get him on the show. If we decide to become a member, and put up our one spot. And I'll tell you this, if I were ever coming through the gorge and needed a truck parking spot, ours would be a really good one. Like I said, very quiet here in town. You could walk to a lot of places. We'll see about doing that. If we do, we'll get Evan on the show. But I'm going to be talking about this some more. I've got some calls coming in. What else we got going on? I had another topic I could throw out there. It's just about as controversial, but now let me do this one. Here's the one I was thinking about covering. I'm not going to do it right now. I might soon, though, because this is starting to become a kind of a big deal. The federal government is about to reschedule cannabis, and they need to. Cannabis is actually considered more dangerous than fentanyl by the federal government. That is absolutely ridiculous. It's got the most dangerous drug schedule you can have, cannabis. And yet we've legalized it in a bunch of states, and we haven't really created any problems. No more problems than we do with legalized alcohol. In fact, probably a lot less. But if they do that, now the ATA is worried about, if the federal government downgrades it, we're going to start seeing more people use it. Well, let's just legalize it and be done with it. And let's just allow commercial drivers to do it in their time off, just like they can alcohol. But it's worse than that, because commercial drivers are allowed to be prescribed opioids, fentanyl even, and benzos at the same time and still not be disqualified to drive. How insane is that? But we won't let them use cannabis on their time off. But they can drink all they want. The whole system is a mess. And it sounds like it's about to get worse. The other one I had real quick, I'll throw it out there, and then I'm going to get to some calls if you want to comment on these. This one, I understand why, but it's just Americans show more support for fuel tax increase than a mileage fee. I know why. They feel like if they have to pay a mileage fee, it's a new expense that they have to pay, and they don't see the fuel tax. It's just in the pump, and they pay it. They have to buy gas anyway. Americans, talk about suckers. Americans are such suckers. They will spend so much more money than they need to if you just make it easy for them to spend it and they don't have to see it. It's like income taxes. I've said for years, if we want good tax reform, income tax reform, make people write a check for their own income tax bill. Why don't we? Well, we don't because the government knows it can collect a whole lot more money from people, and they won't push back if they can't see it. It comes out of their check. I don't see it. It was in my fuel. I just paid for fuel. I didn't pay a tax bill. I just paid for fuel. They don't care. It's because they don't know where their own money is going. Same thing we talk about with businesses. If you don't know your numbers, you're going to probably fail. It's no wonder people live paycheck to paycheck, because they are willing to pay much more money for something if you just make it easy. They don't want a new mileage tax. Just charge me more on the fuel tax. I'll be fine. And the government knows it. The government takes advantage of it. And private businesses take advantage of it too. We've been known to offer people payment plans. We do on the CMC. So here's a reason we shouldn't even be arguing about this. We should be implementing a mileage tax immediately. And it's not about who prefers which one. It's about the fact that if we don't, you're going to have to implement a dozen complicated fuel tax scenarios. We have to start charging people who are using electric cars. We have to start charging people who are using natural gas. We're going to have to start charging people who are using hydrogen to propel vehicles down the road. They're not paying any road taxes because it's in our fuel tax. So now that we have multiple fuels and more coming, why don't we just have a mileage tax and be done with it? Because here we go back again to cost. Well, no, that's not convenient for us. Just let the government come up with 17 different fuel tax formulas instead. That costs us all more money. We have to stop thinking that the government is an endless piggy bank. It's not. All right, let's get to some calls because they're piling up on me and I don't have a lot of time today. Let's go to South Carolina. Ilya, good morning.
Hey, Kevin, how's it going?
Good. What's on your mind today?
I was just calling about that truck parking thing. I was gonna say, I was thinking about it, like even back to probably like my first year of truck driving, like even as a company driver, like I don't think I've ever had a single day where there was like an actual issue where I couldn't find any spot anywhere. Like especially with like smartphones and whatever, there's so many tools everywhere.
Right. So I hear this all the time. Like you said, brand new drivers. Is there a lot going on in your first year of truck driving? You know, I talk about how easy this job is, and I kind of say it tongue in cheek. After you know how to do it, it is pretty darn easy. But in that first year, I remember that first year being really stressful. There's a lot of stuff going on. There's a lot you've got to be careful of. There's a lot to learn. And I still hear this, and you're saying it right now. Even then, there was not a single night. Now, there are probably a couple nights you had to think about it or check an app or maybe you had to stop twice or whatever. I get that. But that's not a problem we should have the government even thinking about. Because it's not really a problem if you know how to just solve it yourself. Ilya, did we lose you? Oh, there you are.
No, you were cutting in and out a little bit. I didn't hear you there.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, and then as far as like, I mean, I personally use Truck Parking Club all the time, especially areas like they made a video with me like a month or two ago. Like I use it in Atlanta area all the time where you know it's gonna be crowded. You go to that Petro, like Petro's the only truck stop in Atlanta really, and you have to buy 60 gallons of fuel, which is a lot, or you have to spend $25 at the store. And then you're still going to get people knocking on your door all night.
Right.
Who knows who's parking next to you? They're going to hit your truck.
Yep.
Or you could spend $15 to $20 and park at a truck parking club spot, and it's fenced in. There's cameras, there's lights, there's a bathroom there, and it's clean, and no one's going to bother you.
Ilya, I'm confused.
Like that kind of thing.
I'm confused because I know your story. So you started as a new owner operator recently, right? Uh-oh.
Sorry, you cut out a little bit again.
Yeah, I wonder what's going on with that. Hopefully it's on your end, not mine.
I think Angie said something had to be restarted there. She said it was like choppy there.
All right, maybe I'll do that. Hold on one second. I'm going to restart. I'm going to reconnect. You guys all hang out. If you're on hold, when I reconnect, it won't mess with your call. So just hold on. I'll be right back.
Ready to connect. Click connect to show now. You are now in the host room and can manage your callers from the Call-in Studio web interface. Audio recording is on.
All right. Ilya, any better now?
Yeah, that's a lot better.
Oh, perfect. All right. So I was just going to kind of tell your story because I'm a little confused with you right now. You started recently as a new owner operator, right?
Yep.
At the bottom of the market. In fact, maybe one of the worst bottoms we've talked about in a long time. And everybody says how hard it, and we're watching brokers and carriers go out of business left and right. You started at the bottom, which I've been a proponent of for a long time. You got your authority right off the bat. The problems of, nobody will load your truck and your authority isn't old enough and you don't have an inspection and you seem to have overcome that without any real issues. Your numbers seem to look pretty darn strong. And now you're also saying you don't really have a problem with truck parking. So if you're not having a problem, fairly new to the industry, new to being an owner operator, brand new authority, and you're not having an issue with any of these things, why is that?
Well, actually, one of the things I was gonna say was I wonder what I wonder like if there's any overlap of the people that complain about rates and broker transparency and the people that complain about truck parking.
Well, and let's think about this, because you know I'm big on education and having a plan and doing things right, solving your problems. Let's just think about this. And they're the same groups. You're right. They're screaming about broker transparency and freight fraud. Now they want to jump on the freight fraud thing to get the government more involved because freight fraud's a real problem, and they want to scream about parking. Let me talk about two strategies I teach over and over and over. And if as a single truck owner operator, you apply these two strategies, you eliminate both of those problems. It's that easy. The one strategy, build good relationships with a couple of brokers. Don't be using new brokers every single week over and over and over. If I know the broker and the broker knows me, there's no freight fraud happening. Really simple. And you get better rates. We could talk about all the advantages of it, but it's one simple, powerful strategy. They scream at me when I even talk about it. That somehow they don't think that's a smart thing to do. I don't know why. Then we also talk about specialize in something, a certain type of freight or a lane even. We talk about Matt's numbers and why he's been able to build the business he built. He knows that lane from Minnesota to Florida inside and out. He's been doing it forever. If you stay in the same lane all the time, will you find all kinds of places to park that other people don't know about? If all you're doing is passing through these areas over and over, different places, but if you're in the same place all the time, don't you find unique places to park?
Oh yeah, I have a whole Google list saved of like pins of places where I know I can park no matter what time or day it is.
Yeah. So the two problems that they're screaming that we need the government to solve, and we can solve those in about 30 seconds.
Yeah. And even with the paid parking thing, like you think about it, like the one truck stop company loves, they don't have paid parking. But the one thing about them is like if it's late at night or whatever, you know they're going to be packed. There's never going to be a single spot there, so I'm not even going there.
Right.
I'm going to go to like a TA or a Flying J where I know worst case, if it's full, I'm just going to get a paid spot and I'll at least be able to park there. But then there's also the drivers that'll spend an hour or two or three or whatever driving around all night looking for a free spot. I'm like, just pay the $15 or $20 and just park. You're going to burn that in fuel
and time.
Your time anyway.
Time and energy levels and frustration levels and again, I deal primarily with owner operators and small carriers. I get where this could be frustrating for company drivers. I get it. So, but even they have some control. Drivers are almost always in demand, and yet we don't take advantage of it. If you're that much in demand, we should start putting more and more pressure on trucking companies to provide more stuff. And if there is a driver shortage, which, boy, if we could get started on that one too, we should use that to our advantage. Drivers should. Again, it's not my market, but if it were, that's what I'd be telling them. Start finding the companies that do things right and support them. But what happens is even when these guys go to a company that does a lot of things right, the first time they get pissed off, they quit because they know they can get a job before the day's over with. That's why we have so much turnover.
Yeah. I mean, even for them, it's not that bad because all you do is connect your fuel card to the rewards app, and you get free spots like that through your rewards. You still, like, even back when I was a company driver, I used paid spots all the time, but I barely paid for any of them.
There you go. It really highlights how helpless people are becoming.
Yep.
It's sad. It's sad.
Okay.
We all end up paying for it. All right. Thanks for the call. Yeah, we all end up paying for it. Let's go to Texas. Dwight, welcome to the program.
Well, I'd like to steal a line from Rush Limbaugh and just say ditto to everything that you and the last caller just said. About halfway through his conversation, I started to hang up because I said I'm just going to repeat the same thing. So then I
Well-
thought about Rush Limbaugh.
Good. Well, let's do this then.
But-
Let's say that we at least want to try to reach out to these groups and stop fighting all the time. And let's just say we want to try to get along a little more. So I'm going to recommend something the federal government could do to improve parking. And it would actually make sense. It wouldn't cost us, the taxpayers, any money. And yet when I bring this up, people just kind of gloss over it. They don't even want to talk about it. I don't know if they don't understand it or so. Have you ever driven on the Ohio Turnpike?
I have not.
Ah,
I have not.
interesting. Let me think.
I've done something that you talk about. I've got one or two brokers.
Good.
Three technically.
So
And I stay in a lane.
I use the Ohio Turnpike because I grew up within about a half a mile of it. It used to be exit 13. Now that's when they used to just number the exits. Now they do it by the milepost. And I can never remember what it is now. But I grew up right there. I could walk to the exit, spent a lot of time on the Ohio Turnpike. They have travel plazas. You don't get off the turnpike to go to the stop. And lots of turnpikes have these. So it might be in the center of the two lanes and, both feed in, but you don't get off the interstate and have to go down into a town or on another road to get to a truck stop. It's right there on the turnpike. And in Ohio, they're really nice. They're always clean. They have big parking, not necessarily big numbers of spaces, but it's always wide open and easy to get around. They even have little RV parks you can plug into for RVs, which is kind of nice. They usually have lanes for like triples and big, ugly, heavy stuff, and there's lanes for parking for those. They're really well done, and they're always clean. It's a pleasant experience. They're only allowed
Don't they have showers?
Some might. They're not really set up like a truck stop, but that's the point I'm getting to. It's the model I'm looking at. They do allow a lot of truck parking. They have truck fuel, but it's smaller in comparison. Some might have showers. Somebody will probably call or text me and let me know. I'm not sure about that. But the model of that, right now they're only allowed on turnpikes, which are controlled by the government. Let's think about this. The turnpike is controlled by the government, and they're allowed to put a travel center in the middle of the road or have, travel centers where you don't get off the turnpike to go to them. Why can't we have those same kind of travel centers on interstates? Do you know why we can't? The federal government has a law against it. Why?
No.
Why? Why can they do it on the roads that they control, but free market can't do? What the government could make money off of this? Lease the land to third parties and let them run travel centers right on the interstates.
Exactly. I agree.
Now,
I am familiar with the model because I do go Oklahoma and Kansas, and they have those.
Exactly. If it's a turnpike,
it is good.
It is. It's always better. Now, like I said, they're not always big. They're not always set up like we might like to see a truck stop. They don't have a lot of truck services, but you could if we allow the free market to do this on interstates. Here's another issue.
Yeah.
Every time we see we need more truck parking, but every time a truck stop tries to build somewhere, what happens? The locals fight it. They don't want a truck stop in their neighborhood. Why not? Why do we have such a bad reputation that we bring them everything they need to live, but they don't want us in their neighborhood? That tells you something. We screwed that up.
Yes. Let me say one thing real quick. I've got people that, and you've seen it probably, truckers now, we hate Buc-ee's, boycott Buc-ee's, never go to a Buc-ee's even if you're in your car. And I've even got friends that argue with me on this. I said, why would Buc-ee's let 18-wheelers come in there? They just destroy the place,
Yes.
inside and out.
Yes,
From piss bottles, trash,
it
to destroy the bathrooms that Buc-ee's is famous for.
well, just compare.
Truckers did that.
I'm not a big fan of Buc-ee's, but I won't even get into that. And I don't care. I mean, I don't need to be a big fan. They're obviously very successful. I just read this morning they are on I-10 somewhere in Texas. They're opening the world's largest Buc-ee's. My God, how much bigger can they get?
Oh, yeah.
But just compare the two properties. Drive on to most truck stops and drive onto a Buc-ee's and tell me what you see that's very, very different. It's like two different worlds. They're clean. They're clean. They're organized. They're well taken care of. They've got about 800 employees at every one of those places. I don't know how they make any money, but they do. I'll also say this, since we're on it, don't buy any of their food products. I am shocked at how horrible their food products are. Like some of the worst. The one that really gets me, I love beef jerky. They have all kinds of beef jerky. I would not touch a bite of that stuff. Beef jerky should be meat and salt and some seasonings. They use all kinds of garbage in their beef jerky. So, but I don't care. The fact that they don't want truck drivers tells you something. We've done this. Nobody wants us. Buc-ee's doesn't want us. The locals don't want us building new truck stops. So instead of fighting all that, build them out on the interstate.
Yeah. Hell, I agree. We've done it to ourselves.
We have, and we can fix it ourselves, but we don't want to. We want to whine to the government and spend more of our taxpayer money, and it won't work. Let's go to Tennessee. Paul, welcome.
Howdy.
What's on your mind today?
I got three things now. In Oklahoma, Love's have taken over the service plazas, truck stop, whatever, that are on the turnpikes.
They have?
Most of them now are run by Love's. Yep.
Oh, that's interesting. So,
must know someone in the government office or something. I don't know.
Yeah. So, what would be a reason not to use that model on interstates?
Yeah, I don't see a problem with it.
You know who actually fights it?
Yeah.
There is a group that fights
truck
it.
Stop.
Yes, NATSO, National Association of Truck Stop Owners, fights this idea tooth and nail. They don't want it. I'm not sure why they would fight it. The model should be like
they could be the ones that would be running it.
Right. Yeah. Why not use the model like Oklahoma? It sounds like they're using already. Go get a third-party company that knows how to run truck stops. Just let them build them in interstates.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's not all of the turnpikes, but most of them. They got the big Love's sign up there.
That's pretty interesting.
Their own.
Yeah.
So, I'm not opposed to paid truck parking. I think it's a good idea. But if I can get a free spot,
of course,
I'll take that first over buying one.
Of course. But, let's make another analogy here. Why are people willing to spend $10 a gallon for water when free water is available almost everywhere?
As a tax, yeah.
It's the same thing. There's free parking all over the place, and just because we add paid parking does not mean free parking's going away. It just means it'll free up more. But then they really get pissed off when truck stops convert free spots to paid spots. That's the one that makes them crazy. And that's what is happening sometimes even with Truck Parking Club. I'm all for it. It's their property. If they want to charge for it, they damn well can charge for it. If you don't like it, go to Love's because they don't have paid parking.
Yeah. And so where I stayed last night, there's a 1-9 network truck stop there at that exit and a Love's. But if you go about 100 feet past the Love's and you turn left and you go down there, there's a a rinky-dink little bar, and it's got about a 1, maybe 2 acre gravel lot. When I woke up this morning, there was 5 trucks parked there. Yet they're lined up in the driveway in the Loves last night.
You know, here's the one thing I can say.
When I got off the exit, I knew where I was going. So,
if you are having trouble finding parking anywhere west of Missouri, you're an idiot.
well, I never have trouble finding a parking spot. I know a spot in Baton Rouge that I've parked many a time when I used to run down that way. And not once did I ever see another truck parked there. Never.
See, that's what I mean.
And
They're
walking distance
so
of a Hooters and a Twin Peaks restaurant.
so. Boy, there's a joke. I'm just going to stay away
Double
from
the
that.
choice.
Yeah, yeah. Quadruple the fun. So
That's right.
yeah. So that's what Truck Parking Club does. They go find those kind of unique, out of the way places, and they approach the owners of the land and offer them a deal. And they create, and a lot of their parking is free. Not all of their spots are paid. They have free spots as well that they offer. But I like the idea of paid. Now, here's what I plan on doing. If we, like I said, I get a couple more issues I've got to work out. If we can free up that one space, it will be free for Let's Truck members. We got to figure out the logistics of that, but we can. It's not that difficult. If you have and we'll probably qualify. Maybe even if you've ever been to a CMC, I don't know. But certainly, if you are a tribe member, a paid tribe, $3 a month, we'll give you the spot free. Anybody else, $100 a night. Just kidding. We'll go $15 or something. And honestly, think about this. One spot, I might charge $15. I'm going to give it to our members. We're not going to make any money on this. In fact, the only way it might help us a little bit is if people park there and actually buy stuff at the store the next day. I am almost doing this mostly to stick it in their face. Because now, just like I was colluding with the brokers and freight waves to control freight markets, now I'm colluding with Truck Parking Club to control truck parking. That's their claim now.
One thing that I don't like about Truck Parking Club, so a little truck stop in Mississippi that I'd parked there several times before, and I was running late one night, and it's like, I should be able to make it there, and I made it there. I pulled in, I had like 2 minutes of drive time, made it in there, and it's like, oh, Truck Parking Club's here. Oh, okay, no worries. And there was only they got like 20 spots, and there was only like 4 or 5 trucks there. So I walked inside, and the guy's cleaning the floors and everything. I said, hey, I need to buy a parking spot. Oh, you gotta download the app and put all your information and everything. Well, it's real crappy phone service there.
Oh, that
And
sucks.
I couldn't
Yeah.
get signaled. I couldn't download the app, and it's like, oh, screw. So in the end, I pulled out of there and I drove across to the empty lot across the street.
Well, there you go. But let's even talk about that.
Yeah.
Why would they make it so you have to download this app? Why would they make it more complicated? There's a good reason. There's also a good reason why we haven't had a service like this up until now. This is a really, really tough business model to make money with. When I first looked at it, I thought, now here's the thing. Evan Shelley, the owner, comes from the banking world. He's a finance guy, and he's sharp. So I trust that he knows what he's doing with the numbers, but they do have to keep their costs down. So the idea of you've got to use as much technology as you can to automate this to keep costs down. But here's the other thing that's pretty interesting. I don't know what the percentage is. I'm going to ask Evan about this. But they really push hard. The people you do talk to on the phone, if you have an issue and you call, they hire a lot of ex-drivers. That's their market, their goal. Okay. They go after ex-drivers to be on the other end of the phone. That's not easy either, but it's a damn good strategy if you can pull it off.
Yep. So, and then one other thing about the fuel tax, mileage tax.
Yeah.
So I'm not complaining about my fuel mileage or the amount of the tax that I pay. but I only pay about half of what Joel and Henry pay. No, they only pay about half of what I pay.
Correct. Right.
So I get half the miles per gallon.
Right. So how does that even make sense?
But I chose my segment. So
No, right. I get it. And you're not complaining, but it doesn't make sense. Just because we get better fuel mileage doesn't mean we're not doing as much damage to the road. And that's the whole point. The point is to help keep the roads up, and trucks do more damage to roads. There's no doubt about it. So we should pay our share. But if nothing else, can't we look ahead and see we're going to have a real problem with taxes if we don't come up with a better system? If we end up with 6 or 7 different fuel tax systems, what a disaster that's going to be.
Yeah.
Put in a mileage tax and be done with it. We can see the future is multiple forms of fuel. It's already here.
Yeah.
We already have electric vehicles that are not paying road taxes.
Yeah, we should just take the fuel tax off at the pump and put a mileage tax on, and
Be done.
still file it the same as you file your IFTA.
Right.
Done. Easy.
I know.
Problem solved.
Yep. And then we don't even have to worry about this whole complicated system that I have to try to teach people about different rates in different states. And you got to do, we could eliminate all of that. Fuel would just be fuel, and you would just know what the price was. There would be no tax mixed into it.
Because there's a lot of people that don't understand IFTA tax either.
The majority.
I'm not saying I've got 100% understanding about it, but I know the basics. Take the tax off the pump price.
There you go.
Price, and that's the price.
Right.
Yeah.
And you're right. Most people don't know it. I got so frustrated trying to explain it to people on the radio, I created a course for it. Let's go to Nebraska. Richard, welcome.
Hello, Kevin. I was wanting you to give me a little advice on my oil sample, please.
All right. Let me take a look at it here. So we've got a DD15, about
Yes, sir.
320,000 miles on the engine and about 80,000 or so on this oil.
Yes,
that
sir.
correct?
319 on the end frame and 80 on the
Oh,
yes, sir.
It's on an in-frame. How many miles were on
Yes,
this
sir.
when it had to be rebuilt?
About 760.
What happened?
It lost a cylinder.
Did
They opened it up and they said, "Hey, we're already in here. We might as well do them all."
Did you break a piston
So,
or
I
a ring
disagree.
or what?
I'm not sure. That's been
Okay.
about 2 years ago. But
Okay. Well, it's so
I don't know the
unusual.
details.
We just don't see these engines being rebuilt much anymore, but it makes sense. You had a catastrophic failure, and we can't even see
Yes,
those
sir.
coming. And they are absolutely correct. Once you're down to that cylinder, just do them all at that mileage. So I agree with that. All right. Are you using Catalyst?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So that's the cause of your high iron. So you can just ignore that, especially when the only other wear metal I'm actually concerned about here is aluminum. They don't have it flagged, but aluminum, let's see though, 711. No, it's been going up steady. I don't think I'd worry too much about it. We got a little bit of lead and copper. Is there a reason why?
Are the lead and copper at a level that you'd be concerned with?
Well, yes and no. I would be concerned, except I just figured out why. And now that we know why, so when we see wear metals, we start trying to figure out why are we seeing the wear metals? Is it just we're towards the end of the life of the engine when we start to see more wear metals, or sometimes at the beginning we see more wear metals? But then it should settle way down for hundreds of thousands of miles where we just don't see them that high. So we want to know why they're climbing. Well, they're climbing because you've got silicon in the oil. It's a 12, anything over 10. And you've got a history of this. We hit 10 way back when, then we hit 13, then we were at 8, 9, and now we're at 12. And when you get to 10 or above, silicon is dirt, and dirt is abrasive, and it causes wear. So we know why it's happening.
Right.
You've got a breach in your air intake system somewhere. We're getting dirt into the engine. It's
I
not.
used the fleet air filter, and that was another question I
Then
was going to ask you about. Is the fleet air filter?
Yeah, fleet air filter will not cause this. It actually does the opposite. But that's where we need to start. You got to inspect the fleet air filter, all of your wraps for any tears. Check around the seams, make sure you don't have a seam coming apart. If the wraps are in good shape, then that won't be the problem. If you find any tears, just order another set of wraps. And make sure you're oiling it right. That's the bigger issue. I think they've got videos you can go watch. It's fairly simple, but you still
Yes, sir.
you need to do it right. And if the wraps are in good shape and you're oiling it properly, then we need to keep looking through the intake system to find it. But we always start at the air filter, whether you have a fleet air filter or a paper filter, because it is the most likely place to have a problem. But we're getting dirt in this engine somewhere. Now, it's not a huge deal. It's only we're only 12, and our wear metals aren't that big of a deal, but this is something you want to find and take care of, and that those wear metals will slow down. Other than that, this is a really good oil sample.
Okay. What about the sodium and potassium? I've heard you talk about that quite a bit.
Yours,
Would that be any concern?
There's always going to be some. Yours is at 8 and 5.
Okay.
When it becomes a problem, we're talking about it's going to get up into the hundreds.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
okay,
it's
good information.
Yeah, sometimes they'll flag one of them when it gets around 80 or so. Sometimes, but unless both of them are over 100, it's an indication of a coolant leak. But if they're not over 100, we're never going to find it. It's just too small of a leak to even be looking for at that point. Once it climbs, both of them climb over 100, then we know there's definitely a coolant leak, and we got to start looking for it.
Okay. And no concern with the calcium?
Ignore everything over there. Yeah, it turns out those numbers could possibly be important, but I've been doing this for 20-some years, and I wish they would just take those numbers off. Now I'm learning some new stuff, but I'm still not going to use that section much. And then your others, your base, it's flagged at 3.5. That's plenty of base. We've got a little bit of oxidation, but nothing to worry about.
So don't add no base either?
No, you're plenty fine on the base.
Okay. And the fleet air filter question I had, is there a lifespan on those? Is there a point where they begin to maybe deteriorate a little bit? I've had mine right about 3.5 years.
The wraps can. They are foam, and they're oiled foam. Over time, they can deteriorate. I've actually, it's a lifetime filter, though. I think they might even replace the wraps under that. I'm not sure. I recommend most people have 2 sets of wraps. When you buy your filter, buy an extra set of wraps. It makes cleaning so much more convenient, because it always seems like that filter needs cleaned when we're really busy. I mean, that's how life seems to happen. And then you put it off because you don't have time. And if you just have 2 sets, and they're not that expensive, if you have 2 sets, then you can always have a clean set. If you're busy, you grab the clean one, throw it on. Now when you've got time, you go wash and dry the other one. You're not in a hurry.
Yeah, I've got 2, and I just added a 3rd one about 2 weeks ago.
Oh, good.
Trying to stop this silicon issue.
Yeah.
I heard Bruce talk about putting Vaseline around the hoses before you reconnect them.
All of those things can help. A little bit of
the intake.
Yeah, a little bit of grease on the seal itself, and like I said, you're not getting a lot of dirt, but there's some getting in somewhere.
Do you recommend going ahead and changing this oil, or
No,
dropping
it's
it right away?
it's still okay. I'd wait.
Wait till I get 100,000, then change it.
Well, no, let's just wait until your next sample. I mean, we always base our changes on samples. I just don't like to put a random number on it. We might get to 100,000 miles and everything's still fine, and we would keep it in there. Or we might get to 70,000 miles and there's a problem and we're going to have to take it out. For me, it always gets changed based on the sample, never on mileage.
Just don't let it get above that 12, or not much more than 12.
Yeah, if we saw an increase on the next sample, say up to 15, I'm going to tell you to drop that oil.
Okay. That'll work.
All right.
I sure appreciate everything you do.
You're welcome. Thanks for the call. Let's see. I've still got some time. Rolling toe is coming up, so be thinking about your tire and alignment questions because the Beckett's will be in the house shortly. Let's go to Texas this time. Sarah, good morning.
Hi, I just wanted to say thank you for the interview you had with the author yesterday. I'm really looking forward to that book.
Yeah.
And for anyone out there who is interested in brain plasticity, there is a great book that you can listen to in the meantime while we're waiting for Tuesday. It is called The Brain That Changes Itself.
Oh, cool
Stories
title.
of Personal Triumphs from the Frontiers of Brain Science by Norman Deutsch.
Okay.
It came out in 2020, and it is a great book.
Sounds like
I
it.
posted it in the tribe in case anybody wants to find it easily.
Good. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Bye.
Yeah, thanks for the call. Let's love book recommendations. Now I got to put that one on my list too. Let's go to Florida. Matt, good morning.
Good morning. Couple quick things on that oil sample. He mentioned calcium and base.
Mm-hmm.
When you add the base additive, that
It
has
increases
calcium
the
in it.
calcium. Yeah. So it
so-
turns out that all these years I've been saying I wish they would just throw that out because nobody knows what those numbers just don't seem to matter. Turns out they might matter, but we have to know a lot to figure out how or why they matter. Or this was the conversation we had with Joel and that Lake Speed, I think, is the one that does all the oil analysis. I still haven't had time to go watch those videos. Maybe we'll come up with some useful information up in that section. I'm not sure.
Yep. So my call can be really, really short. You can just say ditto when I'm done. Isn't it amazing how great our country is that we have the spare time to complain about these little piddly things that in the grand scheme of things don't matter?
Yes. Yeah, that's a good point that we have gotten to a place in our country that we are so entitled. We are so, and we could look around and I get it. Inflation's high. A lot of people are hurting. I get all that, but we still have so much in this country, and yet we want to bitch and complain. And I don't even mind that because I can ignore that. What I mind is that these groups get powerful enough that they do get things done at the government. I'm tired of people like this spending my money trying to get the government to solve problems when they can't and we're broke.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. It's, we got so much ability, free time to not have to worry
Right.
about our basic needs, which, a lot of parts of the country or world, that's majority of their life is just taking care of basic needs. They don't have time or the lifestyle to worry about other people's problems or what a different business is doing or
Exactly.
anything.
Right. Yeah, we are
I don't
blessed.
know when this was updated last, but I know it's been in a couple books I've read. Somewhere around 1 billion people on this planet still today live without electricity.
So let's think about something that's hard to get your head around. Without electricity. Now, let's think about something. I've been watching the solar storms going on. It's starting to get a little scary.
Yeah.
Two things are occurring that have not occurred in our lifetime. One, we're seeing increased solar activity. That happens occasionally. There's always cycles. We're seeing a lot of solar activity. What's worse is our poles are moving. The North and South poles are moving. Not the true North and South pole, the magnetic North and South.
Yep.
They have been moving
I still can't even get my head around that.
I can't either. I don't understand what that means or how does that happen, but it's happened in the past. And as far as we can tell, when they move too far, there ends up being some sort of extinction level event. Whole species are wiped out over this for some reason. Now, it's happened way before. I mean, we're speculating that happened. We're based on the evidence because we're talking thousands of years ago. But it happens. It's happened more than once. It's happening now. And so, and we're not talking, you know how sometimes they say the continents move a quarter of an inch every year or something? And you think, how did they even figure that out? This is not like that. They've been moving 27 miles a year since 2020. That's a big movement for something that we don't. What do you mean it's moving? I don't even understand that. But here's the problem. When it moves, we lose a lot of our protection against these solar storms. That's the issue. Now, solar storms that we may have been protected from can now affect the grid and electronics more so because our poles are moving. That's why they're more concerned this time. I'm surprised it's not bigger news, but let's think about something. That we've talked about this statistic that if the U.S. were to lose its electrical grid, we could see 90% of the population die in the first 12 months. Well, how can 1 billion people live without electricity? But if we don't have it, 9 out of 10 people are going to be dead in a year.
Yeah, and it's even, isn't it like 80% in the first 90 days?
Probably.
The numbers are crazy in the beginning. And
right.
By 1 year, it's a lot.
Right. Right. Yeah, you lose a bunch of people in hospitals right away. Anybody on any kind of life support, anybody that needs dialysis.
Well, even prescription drugs.
Right.
If the only thing keeping you alive is prescription drugs,
you're
the
dead.
whole system goes down.
You're dead. Yeah.
Your supply is your supply, and you're done.
And imagine someplace like New York City or L.A. with no power and none coming. Yeah. I can't even imagine. Right. But then we find out. So
I won't be there.
So if we were to have some sort of major solar flare that took down grids, and it is completely possible. In fact, the experts say it's not a matter of if it'll happen, it's just when. It's just a timing thing. The sun lets off blasts of this energy all the time. We're watching 2 major spots in the sun right now that are sending off large CMEs. They're just not aimed at Earth yet. But the one spot is coming back around, and it's going to be pointing at us again in about 2 weeks, maybe even a little less. And it's really, really active. It's the same one that caused all the problems a couple weeks ago. And I said back then, we thought it was dying. Right as it was going around the corner where we couldn't see it anymore, it let off a big blast. Now it's back around the other side, and it's still letting them off, and it's going to be aimed at us pretty soon. Now, we may miss this one again, but at some point it could happen. It's very likely to happen. And we're not prepared for it. The reason we should be talking about this as a government, as a country, we should be getting prepared for this. We're not. So as individuals, just try to imagine what it's going to be like if this does happen.
Yep. Yeah, and looking at the clock, the one last thing, the Ohio Turnpike plazas.
Yeah.
Yes, they do have showers.
Okay, great.
And regular fuel islands too. They're probably, at least the part of the country I've run, I don't know Oklahoma like Paul was talking, but Ohio Turnpike travel plazas are a model to be repeated.
I was just going to say that. That's the model we should build out on interstates. Why don't we? There's a law, but why do we even have that law?
It's our government.
I know. It seems like if we want the government to do something, that's an easy one. Get rid of the law. And I don't want any tax dollars used for this. Make it all third-party, private, but let them do it. Now we solve it. We even let the government be a part of the solution, but they don't have to spend all of our money. All right, it is time to bring in Mike and Kevin Beckett. Hey guys, good morning.
Howdy.
So I think I'm going to try starting my Thursday shows 5 minutes early so I can end on time. Think it'll work?
I don't think it'll work. There's always something. It's just always something.
It's always something. We got to talk about the end of the world is coming soon with the big solar flare. There's always something to talk about.
Do you want some good news?
Yes.
You don't have to worry about being late for us next week because we ain't going to be here. Right?
Yeah. What? You know we have a policy. You have to apply for time off 30 days ahead.
We don't need no stinking rules. Yeah, I'll be driving to South Dakota, and Mike will be flying back from Virginia.
Wow.
Tennessee
and South Dakota. Wow.
Yeah.
What are you going to South Dakota for?
Around. It's called Wheel Jam.
Wheel Jam.
Truck show. Yep.
Yeah, heard of that one. I've never been to it. Sounds like fun though.
Fairground.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a fun one. We're taking our invite and we're going. Yep.
He's
got training for Continental Tire for their new hire class on Tuesday and Wednesday morning. And I've got seminars for ideally service managers Wednesday afternoon in Tennessee. So we're going to be all over the place next week.
Excellent. Good. So I'll get out of the way here in a minute and let you guys go. We don't have any calls, so I'll tell everybody phone lines are open. This is the vibration hour. So any kind of vibration, even if your ceiling fan at home is out of balance, call them up. They'll help you fix that.
Right.
But call. This is a call-in talk show. It's always more fun when we have people to talk to. But I've been sucked into a truck parking controversy, and there are groups that want the government to solve the truck parking problem. And I'm partnering with a company called Truck Parking Club. Hey, you guys should probably know. I should get you guys involved with this. And here's why.
Okay.
So here's what Truck Parking Club is doing. Evan Shelley's the owner, great guy. You know him. He came from the banking world of all things. And he started this company from nothing. And they find places where trucks would be able to park, not necessarily truck stops, any place where you might be able to park a truck, and they approach the owners and offer them a deal, and they create sometimes they're free or paid, and they create a parking spot, and you join this Truck Parking Club through an app, and when you need a place to park, you open up your app, you look around. Sometimes they have amenities, bathroom, showers, food, whatever. And they're creating truck parking that didn't exist as truck parking before. I think it's an awesome model. We have groups that want the government to fix this. Here's a private company working on the idea. I like it so much. I think we can create one truck parking spot at our warehouse. Pretty sure we can. If we can, we're going to become a member. We're going to make that one truck spot available. But with your network of your dealers, a lot of these people have places that might be good truck parking club spots.
Could be. I have a suggestion.
Sure.
Since we're not going to be here next Thursday, why don't you do a special hour-long show, invite the truck parking people in, and have everybody talk about it next week for an hour?
It's why I like hanging out with smart people so much. I just said earlier, I need to get Evan on and we should do a show together, and next Thursday would be a perfect time. Thank you.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
I love that. And we have calls coming
now
in.
You have to apply for that 30 days in advance to the alignment group so that they know. Right. And every extra minute we're going to be charging double the previous.
Boy, are we going to be charging.
Got it. All right. So you guys look like you're going to be busy. The calls are just coming in. They're piling up on you.
Cool.
Better get to work.
Then I guess we'll go to work. They better not be vibration problems. I'm going to be calling you about it.
My standard response to vibration problems is unplug it and take the batteries out, and your vibrator won't be a problem.
I sure hope you guys know how to balance ceiling fans.
It's postage stamps.
Right.
I did have I was playing around the other day with lawnmower blades, and I got a
Ooh,
little tool
ooh.
to balance those. That's kind of fun.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
A tool to balance your lawnmower blades. That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because when you start sharpening them, they get out of balance.
They get out of balance.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. It's a
Mhm.
big deal.
Cool.
But it's an impacted point, and not that similar to a tire and wheel where if you're going to be hitting curbs all the time, I mean, if that was your intention, you really don't want something that's glued or stuck on.
Yeah.
So like a blade, you have to make it thinner
Yeah.
to
So
balance it, or what?
yeah. So once you start sharpening the blade, then and it's actually just this little cone. I mean, it's just a little plastic cone you set on the desk, and you set the blade on top of it, and then you can see whether it's balanced or not. And if it's
teeter-totter.
yeah, the heavy side, you just grind more off.
Turn more off.
Yeah. Yeah, when
That's how I used. That's
here's
how I used to balance tires. I had a cone like that, and I put the wheel and the tire on there, and whichever side was on, I ground some rubber off of it.
Yeah, just grab the angle grinder. And
Yeah.
off you go.
Yeah.
there you go. I had a thought. Now you just made me lose it with that comment. What was it?
Sorry.
Yeah, totally just flew. It was a good comment too. I'm sure of it. Probably was going to be my best comment of the day. The hell
Too
was
bad.
it?
It's gone.
It's gone. All right, I'll let you guys get to work. Have fun.
Thank you, buddy.
All right.
See
Thank
ya.
you.
Bye.
Thanks very much for the time. All right. So this is Rolling Toe. This is Kevin and Mike Beckett with MD